Okay, we are going to talk about paragraphs. Now, good paragraphs start with good arguments. So let's take a look at this argument from one of your classmates. So we have the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero. The Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because she is doing everything in his or her power to stop the unjustified murder of people. Now, this is kind of unnecessary. You don't want to repeat yourself. So what I would say here is which of these is, well, saying something important. I would say the Scarlet Pimpernel, nope, let me change colors there, sorry. I would get rid of this and go for the Scarlet Pimpernel is a, sheer doesn't make sense there, realistic hero because he or she is doing everything in his or her power to stop the unjustified murder of people. Okay, so that's going to be a strong claim, and a claim should always answer the question, why? So, why do you say that he or she is realistic? Because he or she is doing everything, and I'm just going to say he because he can be used to mean I don't know what gender, just like in Spanish. If you say chico, it means boy. If you say chica, it means girl. If you don't know, you go to chico. Doesn't mean it's a boy. Sometimes it just means you don't know. So the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because he is doing everything in his power to stop the unjustified murder of people. So that is a really, really nice claim. So after the claim, the next thing I should see, let me mark that as your claim. After the claim, the next thing I should see is evidence. According to How a Fake Typhus Epidemic Saved a Polish City from the Nazis, Dr. Lazowski carries out similar actions as the Scarlet Pimpernel does by trying to save people from inhumane and unjustified death. So that's evidence. But here's a problem. Our topic is supposed to focus on Scarlet Pimpernel. What is our evidence focusing on? Yeah, it's not Scarlet Pimpernel. So what we need to do is we need to redo this a bit so that our evidence is focused on what our actual topic is, and that's going to be Scarlet Pimpernel. Now, are we still going to bring this article in? Sure, but our focus has to be Scarlet Pimpernel, and we want claim, evidence, commentary. Now, the type of commentary we're going to use is comparison. What are we going to compare it to? We're going to compare it to the fake typhus epidemic, which means this should be dropped down into our commentary. We need evidence. So let's take a look if we can find some evidence to show that this is true, that the Scarlet Pimpernel is doing everything in his or her power to stop the unjustified murder. That's what we need evidence for. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, it's cleaned up a little bit now, and you can see that this is where we need, that gap is where we need to put in evidence from the Scarlet Pimpernel. What would work best? Okay, so there we go. We say that he did everything in his power to stop the murder. What is our proof that he does everything in his power? The hero dressed as a captain of the guard and every one of his soldiers aristos, so he could get them out. So that proves that he's doing everything in his power. So now the evidence is a little more closely related, but some readers are still going to look at that and say, dude, how is that realistic? Now, before we move on to that step, why do I have the number 4 in my citation when most likely you're not going to have a number in your citation at all? Okay, yep, I am looking at a paper copy. And if you are looking at paper, you have to tell me which page. Because unfortunately, paper does not come with the handy Control F find function so that you can find where information is. So, right now, how does it look? The Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because He or she is doing everything in his or her power to stop the unjustified murder of people. The hero dressed as a captain of the guard and every one of his soldiers aristos so he could get them out. According to How a Fake Typhus Epidemic Saved a Polish City from the Nazis, Dr. Lazowski carries out a similar actions as the Scarlet Pimpernel does by trying to save them from inhumane and unjustified death. The Scarlet Pimpernel also misleads the controversial public. Oh, misleading the public is a completely separate topic. What should I do with this sentence right here? Because remember, we said that we were going to focus our claim on stopping the unjustified murder. Should we be bringing in a different idea? Yeah, no. This proves the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because he, she, as well as the Polish doctors should not be capitalized, I don't know why it is, use their cunning to save human lives. Why are you not backspacing? Good. Okay. So, yeah, it is shorter. And some of you guys get the feeling that longer is better, and it's actually not. And here's why. The goal of an argument is you should be able to label the pieces clearly, and the pieces should do their job. So, the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because he is doing everything in his or her power to stop the unjustified murder of people. What is that? Yep, that is a claim. What is the claim focusing on? Focusing on he is realistic and doing everything in his power to stop the murder is the why it's realistic. So what do I need now? Now I need evidence. Do I have it? Yep, right here. The hero dressed as a captain of the guard and every one of his soldiers aristos. So if I had better handwriting and didn't cross it out and instead underlined it like I'm trying to underline it, you would see that these are quote fragments from the reading, and these quote fragments prove he is doing everything in his power. So the evidence now supports the claim. What should I have after my evidence? Yep, that should be commentary. Now, it is a little weird that my commentary here starts with another piece altogether, when really my commentary is supposed to be focused on the Scarlet Pimpernel. So I would probably change this to start it with something like, the Scarlet Pimpernel's actions are exceptionally realistic and similar to what is seen in history. And that way, if I bring up the Scarlet Pimpernel first, this is more closely brought in as simply comparing. So that instead of changing the topic, it will sound more like you are comparing the Scarlet Pimpernel to this dude and saying if he is real, therefore the Scarlet Pimpernel is at least realistic. So that is argument. And this is a pretty clean argument. Do you want to know the number one problem I am seeing in arguments? They're too long. Two things are happening. Either you are trying to summarize the book. Dude, I have read this book more times than you ever will. If you simply give me this much quote fragment, I know exactly where you are. Don't summarize the book. Don't do it. You cannot write as well as Baroness Orsi, so don't tell me the whole story. The other thing that I see that is getting people in trouble is you are changing topics. Just like this topic went from really focusing on his boldness to all of a sudden down here, I don't even remember what they were talking about, but they were talking about something that was not as closely related. One argument equals how many topics? Oh, heck yeah. One topic. So you need to make sure that you do not ever change topics. Whatever you say is the claim, That is the only thing you focus on. So the number one thing I would say you need to do with your arguments is make them shorter. And now let's talk about how do we turn an argument into a paragraph. Well, we're going to start by writing another opinion. And then we'll have another piece of evidence, and then we'll have another set of commentary. Yep, to have a paragraph, we need 2 arguments. And the trick is the 2 arguments have to be based on the same thing. This argument is all about trying to prove that the Scarlet Pimpernel is realistic. Well, maybe I'm going to ask you, is the book realistic? You might say yes, and then I would say why. Well, the first reason why the book is realistic is because the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero. But in a paragraph, I don't have one answer, I have 2. So now I need a second reason why I think the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic book. So I might come in and say something like, Marguerite is a realistic heroine or a realistic character. I have to go and look her name up because I never spell her name the same way twice. I don't know if you guys have that problem or not. So Marguerite is but Marguerite as a realistic character doesn't really give me a good strong why. Marguerite is realistically complex. So maybe that's why I think she's realistic. Sometimes she's kind and offers to buy dinner for, and I have to go look it up because remember, we like to have little quote fragments. So I need to find the exact line where she is buying dinner, and I have to find an exact poor blind man. Poor blind man. Now, because I am in paper, I have to then give you the page number. However, I have a problem with my evidence. Right now, you tell me what's the problem with my evidence. Yep, you cannot put a period there. The period has to go at the end of the sentence because the citation is part of the sentence, and you don't put a period in the middle of a sentence. Now, is this evidence enough to prove that she's complex? Well, no, not really. It proves that she's a kind person, but she can be kind all the time, and that's not complex. So we need to show that she's complex by giving the other side. However, other times, she's quite mean, such as when she makes fun of the Comtesse. By, and again, I have to go and I have to look up the specifics. I want to make sure that I am giving specific quote fragments. Okay. And the specifics are mimicking the Comtesse's voice. And that is, for me, on page 11. It comes a little later. So now I have evidence. What do you think I need next? Yep, I need to have commentary. There are actually many types of commentary, but for us, we're focusing on comparison or contrast first. So I did comparison last time, or really I borrowed one of the arguments from you guys, but it used comparison. So this time I'm going to use contrast. Well, what kind of characters do you get in teenage books, in books like Twilight? Are they complicated and sometimes they do bad things and sometimes good things? Or are they essentially just like the good guy is the good guy and the bad guy is the bad guy? So I would say generally they're much more simplistic. So if she were a simple character, why is there you go. Like one of the characters, why are you not typing? Gotta love computers. Simple character, like one of the characters from Twilight. Why are you sticking? She would be all bad or all good. She would either be kind and ethical, or she would try to kill the main character. Because she is both cruel and kind, this really shows she is complex. So now I have that opening that she is complex. I come back to complex in the end. I have got evidence to show, dude, she's complex. And I'm using contrast, that if structure, to give me that contrast against what it would look like otherwise. So at this point, hopefully I've proved that she is realistically complex. But I have two separate arguments. Guess what I have to do now? I have to figure out how to put them together into one paragraph. Okay, we now have the two arguments. And of course, my computer is going to get stuck. Yeesh, let's try that again. So we are going to have our two arguments. But what you're going to see is that I have reversed the order of them. So I've put the Marguerite one first and the Scarlet Pimpernel one second. And we're going to see why here in a second. Because I can't just plop the two arguments together. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of zhuzhing in order to make this an actual paragraph. So this right here is where the two arguments meet. And you can see the Scarlet Pimpernel one is longer. And quite frankly, it's better. But let's go up here to the very first. Now, first of all, because this is a paragraph, I now have to indent. Second of all, I am missing what's called a topic sentence. A topic sentence should be an umbrella that's broad enough to hold these two arguments together. Why did I write about Marguerite and the Scarlet Pimpernel in the same paragraph? Well, very simple. Both of these arguments are trying to prove that the book is realistic. So guess what my topic sentence has to say? Bam, that's it. Okay. At this point, the Scarlet Pimpernel, you should know to put that into italics because that's the name of a title, versus down here where I'm talking about the person. And that's how we're going to keep them straight because titles of novels are italicized. So the novel The Scarlet Pimpernel is realistic. Marguerite is realistically complex. I don't like that. So maybe I go for authentically complex. Sometimes she's kind and offers to buy dinner for the poor blind man. However, other times she's quite mean, such as when she makes fun of the Comtesse by mimicking the Comtesse's voice. If she were a simple character, like one of the characters from Twilight, she would be all bad or all good. She would either be kind and ethical, or she would try and kill the main character. Because she is both cruel and kind, this really shows that she is complex. Now, and I want to bring it back to real. Complex, like an actual person. And that actual person brings me back to realistic. Do you want to take a guess what I am missing right in here? Because this gap should have something in it. Do you want to guess? Yep. We need a transition. Now, when you were in grade school, you said things like first, second, third, which are useless transitions. What is second? If I were second, the Scarlet Pimpernel's a realistic hero. What would second tell me? It would tell me it's my second argument. Dude, I can count. Look, 1, 2. Woohoo! Don't use second. Don't use next. I know it's next. I have eyes. I can see it. Transitions are supposed to tell me what is the relationship between these arguments. For example, why did I decide to put the second argument, Scarlet Pimpernel, as the second argument? Why did I put Marguerite as the first argument? Believe it or not, I did that because I always end on my strongest argument. My guess is at some point when you were writing, you ran into this moment where you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to stop. I feel like I'm trailing off. My writing is just getting worse and worse. Instinctively, you recognized that the writing wasn't structured well. Good writing, well, it's like a good movie. You start with exciting, you get more exciting, you get even more exciting, and then something blows up right before the climax. A good argument should be the same way. A good paragraph should be the same way. You go from good, Marguerite is realistic, to better, the Scarlet Pimpernel is realistic. And you want your transitions to tell people this was an intentional structuring. So I want to use a transition like even more significantly. Even more importantly, of far more import is. Any of those kinds of things that tell me, the reader, dude, I intentionally put these arguments in this order. So even more significantly, the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because he is doing everything in his power to stop the unjustified murder of people. The hero dressed as a captain of the guard and every one of his soldiers aristos so he could get them out. This determination makes him realistic because history is full of equally determined people. Do you see how I did more there to bring the focus back to Scarlet Pimpernel? Yes, I'm going to talk about Dr. Lazowski, but I'm only talking about him in relationship to how he sheds light on the Scarlet Pimpernel. So I have to keep the focus on Scarlet Pimpernel. That sentence does that. And then I have, according to the fake typhus, Dr. Lazowski carries out similar actions. This proves the Scarlet Pimpernel is a realistic hero because he, as well as the Polish doctors, use their, that's not running. I typed that wrong. Use their something intelligence, I'm not going to go look it up, to save lives. What am I still missing? Closure. Now, closure should definitely reflect the topic sentence. So, the topic sentence, Scarlet Pimpernel is realistic. The book is realistic. But after I have given you all this evidence, should you be more or less certain? Well, I'm really hoping you said, dude, I should be more certain. Look at all that evidence. Holy crap, that is realistic. Look, look, look. Then that closure needs to be a mic drop moment. It needs to be like, booyah, see, told ya. And you need to do that by using intensifier words. So we're going to start with a closing transition. Please don't say in conclusion, because my problem is I can tell it's a conclusion. So you don't have to say in conclusion. You're using a transition that tells me what I already know. In sum, meaning, hey, let me add it all up. The novel is exceptionally realistic. That would be enough. In sum is my transition. Realistic takes me back to my topic sentence. Exceptionally is my intensifier to say, yeah, I could, if I wanted, add more. And that is perfectly okay. That now becomes more of a stylistic choice about how you want to present yourself as a student, because writing is your voice and you need to make some decisions about how it is that you want to present your information. So let's make sure you kind of know what's going on. What is this? Yep, that's a topic sentence. What is this? Yep, it is a claim, and it is a claim that tells me, why do you believe that? It's realistic. Why is it realistic? Well, because Marguerite is complex. So make sure you're focusing on that why. What is this? Yep, that is evidence. What is this? Yep, that is commentary. Now, if it's good commentary, it should have words that take you back to that claim, and quite frankly, also back to the topic sentence, because the claim should be focused on the topic sentence, so it should all work together. So, look at this. I have actual person. So, yep, I tie back to my claim and topic sentence. If this is good commentary, I have a reasoning type. Yep, it uses contrast. Please, I beg of you, do not overwrite an argument. Claim, evidence, commentary, and stop. More is not better. More is just annoying. What is this? Oh, heck yeah. That is a transition. And you darn well better have one in the middle of your paragraph separating your arguments. What is this? Yep, that is your second claim. And if you notice, this claim also ties directly back to that topic sentence. The novel is realistic. Why? Why is it realistic? It's realistic because the Scarlet Pimpernel is doing everything in his power to stop the unjustified murder. So each of these arguments individually supports the same topic sentence. So what is this? Oh, heck yeah, that is evidence. Now, if you notice, the evidence here is actually shorter than the evidence up here. And that is totally okay. Your arguments are not always going to follow exactly the same pattern. You just need to make sure you have claim, evidence, commentary. There's not a certain number of sentences that you need to write. What is this? Oh, heck yeah. You betcha. That is commentary. Now, what type of reasoning does it use? Because if it is commentary, it uses a type of reasoning. Yep, it's comparing him to Dr. Lazowski. What is this? Oh, sorry. I meant to highlight that, and instead I tried crossing it out. So let me try again. What is this? Yep, that is your closure. What does closure have? It has a closing transition in sum. It has something that ties you back to the topic sentence, in this case, realistic. And it has an intensifier mic drop moment. So this is a paragraph. And if you notice, the paragraph is not, it is as long as some of you guys are writing. But what you guys are doing is you are trying to summarize. The evidence is just this much. Because the focus of the paragraph is on you proving the position you have taken. Whatever is in your topic sentence, that's what you need to focus on. If you look through this paragraph, it says realistic a lot, or it uses synonyms for realistic. And that's because this paragraph is very well focused. Last thing, there is one word, well, actually 2 words, you should not be writing in your formal papers, ever. Some of you are doing things like, I think. No, really? I thought your hand wrote it without your brain thinking it first. Of course you think it. Not to mention the fact when you write, I think, you are making yourself the subject. The subject here is supposed to be about the novel, not you. And you, no, you is informal. You are not allowed to use informal words like you or stuff or things. You cannot use these informal words in formal writing. So break yourself of the habit. So hopefully at this point, you've got a pretty good idea of how it is that you write a high school paragraph.